Do you know where Emily is?
Sadly, we don't know specifically where she and many of the other Israeli hostages that are being held are. We know that they're held by Hamas. We know that they're underground. We know that they are in various locations. But sadly, nobody in Israel, I think at this time, can tell the very sad father of Emily and all of the other 240 families where their loved ones are. What we can say is that we are committed to getting all of them back. This has been said by the Prime Minister, by the Defense Minister, and most importantly, by the Chief of Staff. We will get all of them back, and we will do whatever necessary in order to see it done.
Do you know how many are still alive, Jonathan?
Not at this stage. It's difficult, and we've been doing forensics and collecting intelligence from each and every possible source, open source, signals intelligence, and many other sources. And not only us, but other countries are involved in it because there are foreign nationals, as we've spoken about before. But bottom line is that we know that Hamas took both live citizens and civilians and also soldiers and bodies. But at this stage, we don't have that level of detail about each and every of the hostages. Who do we think is alive and who do we think is dead?
Jonathan, I welcome your commitment and perhaps optimism in finding these hostages and getting them back alive. But it's been a week since the ground invasion began. You've been able to rescue, I think, only one hostage. How realistic is it that you get all of these 240 people back?
Laura, I'm afraid that you're right. It is it's a very difficult and challenging situation. And it's a scenario that we've never faced before. The amount and where they are held and by what organization they're held makes it a very challenging tactical task. But nevertheless, we will have to implement it. And whether or not it's by force or by diplomacy or any other creative way to get them back, we will see it done. Just as we are going to dismantle Hamas and create a totally different security situation for southern Israel, we also are committed to getting all of them back home.
Okay, troops, it's reported, are in Gaza City right now. How many and what is their mission?
So the mission is to engage with Hamas and simply to dismantle each and every Hamas stronghold that is buried underground in bunkers. We are doing that at a slow and meticulous order, according to plan. Our advances are they're good, solid. It is a very challenging battle space to be in. Hamas has prepared the battlefield, unfortunately, very well, and it is totally enmeshed with tunnels, many of them short tactical tunnels that are just basically fighting positions that allows Hamas to move from one alley to another, emerge and then submerge, and some are longer and deeper and wider, but we are slowly getting to all of them, and there are gains achieved each day of fight.
The reports that Yaya Sinir has been isolated in his bunker. Can you confirm that? And is the directive to kill or capture him?
The directive is definitely to kill or capture him and all of the other leaders of Hamas, those who planned, facilitated, and executed the murderous October 7 massacre in Israel. We've said so clearly, all of them are dead men walking, and it's only a matter of time inside Gaza and outside of Gaza until these Hamas leaders will either be captured or killed by Israel.
How many Hamas leaders have you killed or captured so far, and how many do you estimate is still to kill or capture?
Unfortunately, many are left, and the most senior ones, they are hiding deep underground, letting the fighting go on above ground, and the exposed civilians pay the price of their aggression and attack. They call themselves a nation of martyrs and that they're willing to pay a price. Surely they're referring to the price paid by civilians, their civilians, and not the price paid by their own families. Most of them have been whisked out of Gaza before that and living comfortable lives in safe havens in Qatar and Turkey. But they will pay a price. All of them will pay a price. I think we have so far been able to get our hands on mid-level and senior commanders in Hamas, little bit more than 60 of them. We have named names and positions, etc. And we are hard at work. Right now, we're focusing on combatant commanders, battalion commanders, company commanders, those who have the direct influence on combat operations on the ground.
Hamas always tries to snooker Israel. It puts Israel in an almost impossible position. They move amongst civilians and innocents. We know thousands of them have died. Can you give some kind of indication now with you in Gaza, with ground troops in Gaza, and you essentially getting the upper hand in that area? From now on in, will those civilian casualties be less?
Well, we will definitely try for that to be the case, definitely. What we've been doing over the last 4 years is to open special humanitarian corridors between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and to allow Palestinian civilians to evacuate on foot.
Sorry,
from
Jonathan,
those
did you say the last 4 days? I think you accidentally said 4 years, but yes. I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, then my mistake. Thank you for the correction. Yes, 4 days, the last 4 days, we've been doing humanitarian evacuation efforts. Palestinians have been able to evacuate from those combat areas between 10 and 2. Yesterday and today as well, and I think that we will be doing that tomorrow. We will continue to aspire to minimize the effect on civilians, and we still urge all the Palestinians to go south into relative safety until fighting is done.
Okay, so 2 quick ones here. The US and the international community is calling now for a humanitarian pause. What is that? How is it different from a small ceasefire? And will you acquiesce to that? And the second thing here is about occupation of Gaza. Is that also the directive now, reoccupation by Israel of Gaza for the foreseeable future?
So I'll answer shortly. There will be, according to the information I have, there'll be a ceasefire once our hostages are returned, full stop. And second, no, we have no such plans or intentions or orders given. Our task is to dismantle Hamas and make sure that there's no terror infrastructure left in Gaza to threaten Israeli civilians like they did on October the 7th.
And no humanitarian pause as far as you're concerned?
As far as I'm concerned, if we don't see our hostages back, no such thing on the table.
Jonathan Conricus, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Laura.